Tesla just held their annual stockholders meeting. So many juicy nuggets and insights, some absolute bombshells as well. So much to discuss. I'm not even going to do my usual join Patreon and buy merch. I'm just kidding. Do both of those things as well, but only after you've watched this video. Let's get into it. Here are my notes from Tesla's 2022 annual shareholder meeting, full of typos, no doubt. Now, all of you should be taking your own notes from these events, but I know, let's be honest, human nature, most of you, it's probably just easier to watch some idiot on YouTube run through his notes, so let's do exactly that. First, some opening remarks. Tesla's head of investor relations actually specifically shouted out Tesla retail shareholders in particular, and also a recurring theme, thanked everyone for voting. A few quick comments from Robin Denholm as well. Tesla's still aiming for 20 million vehicles produced in 2030. In the last year, Tesla deployed 4 gigawatt hours of energy products, enough to power 3 million homes, and a special shout out to Larry Ellison. I do quickly want to touch on some of the absolutely brain-dead proposals, all a result of the woke mind virus. To summarize most of these moronic proposals, here's how things went. Dear Tesla, please waste resources on things that do not help the mission. Especially, please implement blatantly racist hiring policies in which candidates are discriminated against based on arbitrary factors such as skin tone, penis length, hair color, gender, body mass index, and whether or not they identify as a victim. Hiring based on merit is clearly racist, and if you disagree, you are also a racist and a sexist and hate the planet. Also, your CEO is too white and male. Please get a new one. I was clawing my eyeballs out at every one of these proposals. Effectively, a bunch of woke morons, institutional investors with agendas, pushing things onto Tesla, trying to coerce the company into wasting resources on things that do not matter. Dear everybody with these stupid proposals, please, on behalf of all Tesla shareholders, FOAD. Attempting to force Tesla to waste resources, signaling virtue to woke morons to score ESG points is not appropriate. Go somewhere else, to a company that cares more about appeasing idiots than achieving their mission. Thank you. We've got a mission to accomplish. Now on to Elon's remarks. Tesla has a goal of hitting a 2 million annualized run rate by the end of the year. Tesla already at 1.5 million units. Elon very appreciative of the crowd as well. This is the best crowd. Elon also confirmed Tesla made their 3 millionth car in the last few weeks. Of course, we all knew this, or at least I did. I mean, I've literally tweeted about it. People are, how do you know that, bro? I'm like, I can see that. Anyway, shouldn't surprise anyone. Maybe it will. Elon also reflecting on Tesla 10 years ago, August. There's one of those typos. August 2011, not 2021. 2,500 Roadsters made and maybe a few hundred Model S. In other words, less than 3,000 vehicles total a decade ago versus 3 million vehicle produced in the last few weeks. And on screen now, quote, this is one of the cleanest exponentials. If you're just listening to audio only, please pay attention. This really matters. We're looking at Tesla's vehicle fleet size, growing exponentially. Fancy that. This is one thing many investors just do not understand, especially the clowns on Wall Street, who care far too much about what happened yesterday or tomorrow in 1 week's time, last quarter, this quarter, versus what is the overall trend. You idiots. I do not know how to say this nicely, nor do I care about saying it nicely. As Elon points out, this is one of the cleanest look at this thing. It's perfect. This is perfect exponential growth. So while people who are not super smart get bogged down in what happened last quarter or last month, they forget the big picture. This is the big picture. If I could assign one piece of homework to the average Wall Street stock analyst, it will be look at this fucking graph until the penny drops. It might take a while, might take an entire lifetime based on their track records, but this is the thing to understand. I don't know how to be any clearer than this. Elon also having a few comments, some crowd interaction as well. Yeah, we're doing okay on demand. I think it's going to go up from here. Regarding solving autonomy, in terms of the potential, the implications, it could be that crazy. And Elon Musk also trolling himself about timelines and estimates on FSD. This year, I swear, I still think 2024 is the first paid robotaxi fare in a Tesla vehicle. Could be wrong. In fact, I could be massively overestimating how soon it happens. It might be even later than that. Time will tell. 2024, second half of the year, that's my best guess. Elon emphasizing that FSD beta 10.13 is a huge update, especially regarding complex left turns. Again, Elon reiterating something that most investors just do not seem to be grasping. We're effectively solving a big part of real-world AI. Please don't tell that to any of the Wall Street stock analysts. Elon again reiterating that today's road system is designed for biological neural nets, aka human brains, plus vision. Tesla is solving autonomy with the same technique, except rather than biological neural nets and eyes, Tesla's using artificial neural nets and, wait for it, cameras, which our eyes effectively are. Which is obviously not going to work, and that's why Tesla is last on the autonomy leaderboard, according to some idiots with some website who, I don't know who's first place, but the entire thing's basically upside down. Most of you know what I'm talking about. Tesla also pointing out they have the highest operating margin in the automotive industry. Oh, and they're just getting started. Watch what happens when they scale up at Berlin and Austin and keep driving costs down even further. You ain't seen nothing yet. Elon once again reiterating Tesla is as much a software company as it is a hardware company. And this is a really interesting comment. Elon went off on a little bit of a tangent, a valuable one, explaining that Tesla even writes the software that controls their factories, talking about robots and all sorts of other bits and pieces, going as far as to say it's like a cybernetic organism. And then Elon pointing out the obvious, low-key savage moment, I'm going to be honest. I don't think other OEMs think like that. And they certainly do not. Quote, when our competitors advertise EVs, our sales go up. It's pretty funny, referring to the Super Bowl effect. Tesla's orders literally went vertical after a bunch of companies advertised they're not even available to buy yet electric vehicles, and then some consumers who do some homework got online and went, oh, hang on a minute, this thing doesn't exist and it's also a piece of shit and too expensive. Let me check out those Teslas. Next minute, buys a Tesla. Regarding Tesla's Model Y, which is going to absolutely dominate in terms of sales, Elon believes that Tesla's Model Y will become the highest selling vehicle on planet Earth by revenue this year, and next year, the highest selling vehicle on planet Earth by unit volume. And spoiler alert, guess what happens in 2024, and then 2025, and 2026? You know what happens, right? If you're struggling to join the dots, well, they're going to be selling more Model Ys in 24 than they did in 23, and more in 25 than they did in 24, and on and on and on and on and on. Elon also emphasizing that the rate of production is basically how fast can you solve 10,000 problems. Obviously, lots of problems to solve. Elon emphasizing they're not super hard. At least most of them aren't that challenging. There's just a lot of them that need solving. Shout out to Lucid Motors, who are discovering that, there's a lot of problems that need to be solved to ramp production successfully. And a bombshell that's not really a bombshell, because many of us saw this one coming as well. Quote, we might be able to announce a new factory location later this year. In my opinion, most likely places, UK, another in Asia somewhere, and Eastern United States. I believe they're the three most likely new vehicle factories Tesla will announce. Look forward to being right or wrong. Let me know in the comments below, where do you think the next Tesla Gigafactory will be announced? Elon also pointed out that Tesla will probably end up building around 10 to 12 Gigafactories in total, with average output of 1.5 to 2 million units per factory. If you guys will recall me ripping repeatedly on Moron Stanley, they have previously shared their estimates for number of gigafactories required, but more importantly, the average volume from gigafactory. I can't remember exactly, I think it was about 500,000 units. I roasted them at the time going, are you guys fucking idiots? I shouldn't have asked that question because obviously the answer was yes, but Elon has now confirmed. First time they've actually discussed average output plan for future gigafactories. We also heard that Fremont is already the highest output automotive factory in North America. An inefficient clusterfuck of a factory, just for the record. Still producing more vehicles than any other factory in the US, before Austin has ramped up. We also learned that Tesla is currently recycling about 50 battery packs per week. Why such a low number? Because the battery packs last over a decade. There's very few battery packs coming back in for recycling. However, obviously, EV sales growing exponentially, there's going to be a bit of a lag time, but EV recycling will grow about in proportion to the EV market. There's just going to be a time delay because those batteries need to degrade enough, 10, 15 plus years before they're coming back to be recycled. Elon also reiterating Master Plan 3 is fundamentally about scaling. Looking at all the things that are needed to achieve a fully sustainable economy. What tonnage of lithium, cathode, anode, separator, electrolyte, electronics. What are all the things that need to be done to transition to a fully sustainable global economy? Stay tuned for Master Plan Part 3. Elon said maybe he might, I doubt it, get it done next month. Tesla also flexing their manufacturing prowess. That's what happens when a bunch of big brain engineers work for a competent CEO with an inspiring mission. In addition to battery, electronics, and AI advancements. Oh, is that all? We've simplified vehicle structure. 171 pieces of metal into 2 pieces of metal, 1,600 fewer worlds via Tesla's epic casting. And again, we've heard this before, people just aren't getting it. The long-term sustainable advantage of Tesla will be manufacturing. Eventually, all cars will be self-driving, most of them running Tesla's FSD, but let's not get to that point yet. The thing that will be hardest to replicate will be Tesla's manufacturing technology. Now, I keep getting this feeling that there's some guy on YouTube that keeps saying something, Tesla's lead is unassailable. If true, the implications of this, Tesla's lead, in particular manufacturing being unassailable, they look good for Tesla and not great for everyone that isn't Tesla. We also saw where graduating engineering students want to work. SpaceX and Tesla. Something I've been discussing on this channel since day one, literally. Elon pointing out that he recommends looking where the smartest engineers want to work. Where are the ace players going? Probably that team will win. As most of you will know, and on screen now, if you survey graduating engineering students, where do you most want to work? SpaceX and Tesla are always either number 1 or 2. They jostle for those positions. We heard Tesla had over 3 million job applicants last year. They really do have the pick of the world's best elite players. And interestingly, Elon also pointed out that, quote, we do allow people to spend time working at one company than the other. So if you get a little bit bored of Tesla or SpaceX, no problems. You can slot over to the next company for a little while. Very accommodating for the world's best engineers. And Elon almost dropped a bombshell and gave away something really big. He had to cut himself off there. Ends up saying, quote, "Let's just say there's some cool stuff happening on the supercharging front. V4 superchargers confirmed. Time will tell." Another one, quote, "We're basically doubling our supercharger count every year." Very insightful comments about the idea of Tesla vehicles being connected, sharing information, real-time data. Some examples were shown. Because Tesla has a fleet of smart vehicles connected, they can send back data. This allows Tesla to have a real-time data flow, including giving them the ability to improve crash safety, vehicle structure, seatbelt tension, airbag deployment, and then update this over the air. A comment that I don't think a lot of people will truly grasp in terms of implications, but very important. Because of this fact, Tesla vehicles, if the probability of an accident seems extremely likely, the vehicle will actually deploy airbags and pre-tension seatbelts before a crash, before the impact, rather than after the fact. This is a huge safety improvement. I'm unaware of any other automotive manufacturer on the planet who would even be capable of doing this. As we all know, Tesla's number one priority, safety above all else. Another great example. Good luck catching up to Tesla if you don't have any big brain software engineers who can look at this data and write the code. Determine, is an impact imminent? If so, deploy airbag, tension seatbelts in this particular way based on where the passengers are sitting, how much they weigh, and so on. FSD beta growing rapidly, already 40 million miles traveled, and by the end of this year it will be over 100 million miles. Remember, more miles, more data. Data flywheel goes back in, feedback into the system, improves, iterates, gets better. Next minute, Tesla solved autonomy. Confirmation that widespread deployment of FSD beta in North America should happen later this year and be available to anyone who requests it. A quick tease on AI Day Part 2. Quote, "There's going to be a lot of cool stuff." And I think I caught Elon Musk in his first ever official lie as CEO of Tesla. I can't believe he would say something so dishonest and false, but here we go. I'm surprised I can't even do this. I'm surprised that analysts are not really understanding the importance of the Optimus bot. Now, come on, Elon. You're not surprised. No one's surprised. Is anyone surprised that analysts aren't understanding the implications of the Optimus bot? Clearly a blatant lie, Elon. Naughty, naughty. Quote, "My guess is the bot will be more valuable than the car long term. In fact, it will turn the whole notion of what an economy is on its head." Oh, is that all? Is that all, Elon? Please tell us more. Economy is GDP per capita. If you don't have a capita constraint, in other words, you can produce unlimited bots that can contribute to the economy can be arbitrarily huge. Now, I've been banging the drum on this. People just are not getting this. 2040, 2050, people are going to look back and go, that's what he meant. Oh, I get it now. And interestingly, Elon was asked about Tesla's future fleet size. In 10 years, Elon believes that 100 million plus fleet is doable, and then in fact clarified saying, "I'd be pretty surprised if it's not over 100 million in 10 years. In other words, Tesla's vehicle fleet. Now, surprise the fucking prize. I do have to point this out because, I just do. My Patreon supporters at the investor level and above, check the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment to join if you're not already a supporter, have already got access to my Tesla valuation model, the thing that produces my Tesla price targets, which funnily enough, as I record this, let me bring it up. I'm going to quote you the exact number in the valuation model right now, the one that's been published on Patreon. In 2032, 10 years from now, I literally have Tesla's fleet size at 100.7 million vehicles. What a lucky guess. I'm so lucky at guessing things about Tesla all the time. I do want to emphasize this is my base case, which skews a little bit bearish. If we look at the bull case, it's significantly above 100 million vehicles. Now, the reason I mention this isn't just to point out the fact that I nailed it again. It's to point out that Elon has now reiterated the same thing. We're on the same page. And why does this matter? Very simple math, guys. 100 million times the number of people paying for full self-driving on a monthly subscription times the number of months in a year equals an absolute metric fuck ton of revenue and profits falling to the bottom line. Astounding implications. Tesla will effectively have an install base of 100 million plus users in 10 years' time. They can buy software, subscriptions, games, entertainment, information. The possibilities are endless. Once autonomy is solved on top of this, bro, don't say I didn't warn you. And once again, if you don't already have access to my Tesla valuation model, you want to see some of these assumptions. It's not an accident that I keep making predictions and then Elon, months down the track, says something and I'm like, oh, hey, this is already in my valuation model. Lucky guess. It may not just be luck. So once again, you want to join Patreon at the investor level and above to get full access to my valuation model? Click Click the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment. Again, my valuation model is what actually produces my Tesla stock price targets. I don't just pull them out of my ass. I'm not some deluded Tesla fanboy that just makes up numbers. All the assumptions that produce my price targets are available in the valuation model. I'm fully transparent. You might argue, oh, the fleet's going to be less or more. Great. Use your own assumptions. But I do want to make sure people understand this. My price targets aren't arbitrary, okay? They are produced by a valuation model, every assumption of which is available to Patreon supporters at the investor level and above, with view-only access or a fully downloadable access to the valuation model. Now, you should have your own assumptions in your own model, but it is very important to understand. My price targets don't just come out of my ass. There are numbers behind them. You may disagree with the numbers. That's totally fine and to be expected. But when you hear somebody throwing around their price target for Tesla or their valuation for Tesla, it's important to understand whether or not they have assumptions behind these numbers and if they make sense and are at all attached to reality. And more important than that, they should be sanity checked along the way. This is why every time Elon Musk makes a statement and clarifies something that's in my model, either reiterating that I'm on track or proving I'm completely off the mark and need to adjust things, I make said adjustments if necessary. Wait, have I ever needed to adjust anything yet? I'm not sure I have, but eventually I probably will. I know this sounds arrogant, but I mean, I'm not making this shit up. I've got hundreds, thousands of Patreon supporters with copies of these things floating on their hard drives from weeks and months ago. If they open them up now, they're going to see those same numbers. Anyway, enough explaining how Elon and I keep ending up on the same page. On to some internet questions. Regarding Tesla cash surplus, Elon points out Tesla is spending as fast as they can without wasting money, but this is the bombshell. Elon confirmed a share buyback is possible. I've been banging the drum on this for months. Gary Black has, many other Tesla retail investors have as well. As we've all said, at some point, Tesla can't foresee any possible use for their surplus cash above and beyond, obviously, emergencies and blah, blah, blah. Well, once they've sorted that out, it's like, what do you do with all this money? Share buybacks looking like they're on the table. This is very bullish. More questions about how many factories are needed to achieve 20 million vehicles. Elon reiterating again, roughly a dozen, pointing out that Fremont will probably get to 800,000 vehicles in the medium term. Most other gigafactories, 1.5 to 2 million units of capacity, which also curiously aligns fairly closely, but not perfectly, with my valuation model. And the news that we all saw coming, Cybertruck pricing, well, yep, the specs and pricing will be different. Inflation and lots of other things as well. To be expected, I mean, nobody should be surprised about this. It was in the original terms too. I mean, I pointed this out in videos. It literally says everything can change, likely will. More confirmation, Tesla's still tracking to be in production of Cybertruck in the middle of next year. Elon was also asked a very delicate question regarding the geopolitical risk between US and China. Elon's response, and by the way, he looked really uncomfortable, absolutely, understandably. What could possibly go wrong in answering this question? Let's just say I hope for peace and respect, and that was the entire answer. Regarding supercharger amenities, we'll do a couple of fun things in some locations, e.g. a futuristic diner, Blade Runner meets Grease meets the Jetsons. Something cool and different with some style where you can get some great food. Thinking about having some big screens aiming to show 100 greatest movie clips of all time. So basically, you can have a cheeseburger and charge in your car while you watch some cool stuff on a screen at an LA location. And depending on how that goes, Tesla might roll out a few other places like that as well. Elon pointing out that they will do some things that aren't great use of capital, but are just plain fun. On the 4680 cell ramp, quote, not an easy one to answer. Elon elaborates, I think we'll be in high volume production by the end of this year. This does not affect vehicle output for 2022. Tesla has enough cell supplies to make 1.5 million cars this year. However, the 4680 ramp will be important for next year, obviously. Regarding Master Plan Part 3, the focus is going to be looking at the big picture. What does it take to make Earth fully self-sustaining from an energy standpoint? A lot of people probably aren't really going to understand the implications here, but we are talking about going down into the weeds. How many metric tons of this product, that material, and so on? How many cubic miles of solar panels? Like the whole thing. At least this is my expectation. And clearly, the implications will be, well, if all this shit needs to happen and Tesla wants to have a really big hand in helping this shit happen, then do some numbers and you'll see the future of Tesla. Finally, regarding inflation, Elon points out that Tesla gets a fair bit of insight regarding inflation. Elon with a big caveat, but, quote, my guess is that we are past peak inflation and that we will have a recession. A relatively mild recession. I'm just guessing here, total speculation. A mild recession for about 18 months would be my best guess right now. Now, I'm no economist, but pretty damn fucking sure a recession is inevitable. I don't think it's going to be as brutal as some people might expect, but it's happening. Despite what the White House is currently doing to gaslight the American public by literally redefining what a recession is on the official White House website, in my opinion, the US is currently in a recession and the data will soon reflect that. Elon's clearly seeing some data that indicates similar. And now onto the in-person questions. And by the way, quick note, if you guys or girls are ever at a Tesla shareholder meeting, not to be a douchebag here, but please respect everyone's time, okay? It's about Tesla, So if you're going to ask questions that relate to Tesla. And yes, that might be something on the outskirts, like, well, what about your involvement in Twitter? How will that affect Tesla? Or how does the boring company and Tesla work together? I get all that. But please, keep the questions on topic, and also keep your thanks to a minimum. Thanks, Elon, you're doing a great job. Thanks, Tesla, great. Here's my question. Just respect everybody's time. These things happen once a year. We do not need to hear how much you appreciate Tesla and Elon. I mean, we know, we get it. It's a nice thing to say, but there's also a purpose to having these questions. Get to the fucking point. And I'm not saying some investors did or didn't do this. I'm just saying, keep your thanks to a minimum, get to the fucking point, and stay on topic. Regarding autonomy, Elon Musk pointing out, look how many cars are parked. Parking lots are full of cars because cars need a driver, and most of the time, cars are doing nothing. Typically, a passenger car is in use around 12 hours a week. Maybe with autonomy, it could get to 50 to 60 hours a week, a 4 to 5 times improvement in the utility of a car. But, quote, the car still costs the same. And interestingly, Elon said, quite specifically, at least for a while, potentially indicating massive reduction in the overall cost of autonomous software over the long term, maybe commoditization. I could be reading into the tea leaves a bit much here, but go listen back to the call, you'll hear what I mean. At least for a while, the effect of gross margin on an autonomous car kind of boggles the mind. I think there's a lot of Tesla bulls out there who are being extremely bullish and extremely generous in many of these assumptions. Maybe I'm guilty of that too, but something to keep in mind. This appears to be an indicator from Elon that he believes there's potentially a short to medium period of time where margins on these vehicles are absolutely astronomical, but maybe that doesn't sustain over the longer term. In terms of car ownership versus not owning vehicles in the future, you have the option of owning a car, using a car just when you need it, and an owner of a car, as in on Tesla's robotaxi fleet, could choose to add the vehicle or subtract to the fleet as they desire. I think over the long term, far less people will actually desire to own their own vehicle. When you can hail on demand, an autonomous robotaxi, an electric vehicle, it's more convenient. You don't need to garage it. You don't need to maintain it. You don't need to pay for insurance. None of that shit. If it's convenient and economical, I think a lot of people are going to go, why would I own a car? I mean, I literally have not owned a car personally for about 5 years. I don't need one. I live right in the city. I fly to see friends and family if they're too far away. I can't be fucked with public transport. Occasionally I'll take an Uber if I need to. I'm the perfect example of a consumer who in the future won't have any need for car ownership whatsoever. Another typo here, I think, from me. I'm pretty sure the quote was actually, the utility of the car will be mind-bogglingly great. And regarding Tesla's Optimus bot, quote, Optimus will really bring the future to now. I lost my composure when Elon said that maybe you could rent Optimus hourly. I'm sure some of the sickos will understand where I'm going with that one. Let's not go there. If we do these things, I think Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world. Well, yeah, I mean, even if Tesla doesn't do most of these things, they're still on track. So yeah, there's that. Elon was also asked what people miss. What should they be more excited about? Elon followed up saying that the questions and ideas proposed by retail investors are actually the most insightful. I find it remarkable that normal, everyday people understand Tesla better than the analysts. I kind of feel like I've been dumping on analysts for the last almost 3 years running because they don't get Tesla and we do. I think Elon's of the same opinion. Just saying. Another quote from Elon here. The point of a company is to create useful products and services. Ironically, a lot of the analysts don't drive Teslas and haven't ever driven one. Maybe they should. I think this is a good point, Elon. I mean, honestly, if there's a stock analyst covering Tesla who hasn't at least been in a Tesla vehicle, they should not be employed, or at least they shouldn't be covering Tesla stock. But then again, if they're not credible and they're wrong for like the last decade, they also shouldn't be covering Tesla stock, but that doesn't seem to stop them. So I'm not sure about the solution there, but I definitely recommend any analysts who are currently covering Tesla stock, if they've not at least experienced the product and done so recently, their opinion is worth zero. Another important insight from Elon goes without saying, although something I've been saying repeatedly on this channel for years as well. Sometimes people fret too much about short-term things that are clearly just bumps in the road. The trend is what matters. Cumulative output, cumulative miles driven, right? Trend. It's a very clean exponential. Quote, if you see people panicking, instead of saying, oh no, my stock's gone down, it's a buying opportunity. Something, Tesla is the best risk-adjusted opportunity that I'm personally aware of in the stock market, in my opinion. Still buying with every spare cent. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, guys. Let's just move on. Someone also asked about a potential robotaxi pilot city, and Elon responding, importantly, it's actually going to be much more widespread than that. Tesla is developing a general solution for self-driving, and it's not really specific to one city or location. Again, this is something that most people do not get. Oh, look at Cruise. Oh my God, LiDAR, pre-mapping. Oh, they're competing with Tesla. They're ahead in autonomy. This is the difference between a general solution and one that requires training wheels, aka LiDAR, to make sure you haven't gone somewhere that you're not supposed to go and you're still within the confines of the geo-fenced, already pre-mapped in high definition area you're allowed to deploy your software in. People just don't get this. No one. Literally no one. No one, except Tesla, is pursuing a generalized autonomous strategy that's actually scalable and is showing enough signs of being close to finished. Maybe you could argue Comma AI going for a generalized solution as well, but they're years behind Tesla. Even George would admit that. Elon also clarifies, some locations will offer regulatory approval before others, but we are aiming for a general solution. Great line from Elon here. If you created a randomly generated alternate Earth, our systems would still work. Our system is sufficiently generalized. Now, long-term viewers of the channel will probably have heard me giving this exact example. If you pick up a Tesla and drop it anywhere on any road on planet Earth, it will not be a death machine on wheels. Because, again, Tesla is pursuing a generalized solution. You know, the best way I could describe this, I might trigger a few people, but I'm just going to say it anyway because no fucks given. You've got Tesla's generalized solution, right? Think of Tesla as, well, a genius level driver at some point in the future versus, say, Cruise or Waymo or any of these other clowns who think they're pursuing autonomy, but really they're just teaching a vehicle to drive on rails and make sure it hasn't gone outside the little area it's already pre-mapped in. It's kind of like a savant who may be incredible at memorizing a scene and redrawing it, but basically can't function in life outside of that. You've got really narrow specialization where it may look to an untrained observer, oh wow, that's an incredible skill. Wow. But in a different context, you've got a death machine on wheels versus Tesla's generalized solution. This is really important to understand. I think many investors don't get this. In fact, I think most investors don't get this. Even some of the really smart ones out there. Gary Black asked a great question regarding key man risk, which provided some incredible insights. Quote, Tesla's definitely gathering a lot of momentum and have a product roadmap that will last a long time. Execution is obviously hard. Quote, I intend to stay with Tesla as long as I can be useful. I can be most useful on product design, factory design, and manufacturing optimization. We do have a very talented team here. Tesla would continue to do very well even if I was kidnapped by aliens. May have been a low-key reference to entire nations that are not happy with Elon. Or went back to my home planet. Tesla has a very bright future even without me, but I'm not leaving. Again, I've been asked this a million times on Patreon Q&As. What if Elon dies? What if he leaves? Blah, blah, blah. Same shit. They got a great roadmap. They'll be fine. Sure, Elon being there better. They'll execute a little bit better. But they got a great roadmap. They're going to coast regardless. And now, an absolute bombshell and one that was entirely unexpected. Gary Black was asking about Twitter, Elon's time, blah, 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 relevant to Tesla, because if Twitter's distracting him, blah, blah, blah. Quote, I do have a grander vision of what I thought X.com could have been back in the day. Now, if you guys are unsure about this, listen to some of Elon's really old, and I mean ancient interviews discussing PayPal, banking, finance system, and what the vision was back in the day. You might start to put two and two together. It's a pretty grand vision. It could be done from scratch, but I think Twitter could accelerate that by 3 to 4 years. So lots of speculation required here, but spoiler alert, rest in peace traditional banking. I also think rest in peace maybe some communication apps and lots more as well. Take some time to ponder this one. I think I might spend some time hanging out with Mary Jane, contemplating some of the potential options and outcomes regarding the whole X.com philosophy and idea, the grand vision, and how the acquisition of Twitter would play a major role in this. But the short story, guys, Elon may be talking about a multi-trillion-dollar idea here. Maybe even a decatrillion-dollar idea. Not kidding. We also heard that short-term, Dojo's main goal is to get good at video training, in a nutshell. And an interesting question was asked about Teslas communicating with each other. Elon sort of suggesting that there may be some merit for Teslas to communicate with each other, e.g. Oh, by the way, he also pointed out it is not necessary for full self-driving, I mean, duh. But perhaps communication of accidents, potholes, and road closures could be really helpful. And then Elon said, we are working on that right now. So think about this in the future. Tesla's driven ahead of you on the road. There's a gigantic fucking pothole. It communicates that so your vehicle doesn't end up driving over it, or alternatively, there's a road closure, a distraction, accident, something you can reroute without ever having known that that even happened. There was so many juicy nuggets in this annual shareholder meeting from Tesla. I think it's worth replaying the entire annual meeting again, at least once or twice, take some notes, pay really close attention. One of the biggest standouts for me was the fact that Elon confirmed share buybacks are potentially on the table in the future. Tesla also clearly respecting, appreciating, and also imploring retail investors to become even more involved. Make sure you all vote. And some incredibly insightful numbers. I love numbers. Give or take another dozen gigafactories, maybe a dozen gigafactories in total. Not sure which was which. I think it actually may be closer to in total. Just to be clear, we've already got 4. Maybe that means another 8, give or take. Average output, 1.5 to 2 million. Honestly, I think over the long term, it's probably going to be 2+ million because they'll continue to eke out incremental capacity at each of these facilities. Lots of great charts, which I included in this video as well, showing how much progress Tesla has made and hinting at what the future may also look like. So I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this video. Let me know what were your highlights from the annual shareholders meeting. And of course, lastly, don't forget you can join Patreon and see some of the numbers that Elon Musk will disclose in future annual shareholder meetings ahead of time. That was kind of a joke, but not actually that much of a joke. I know it sounds arrogant, but keeps happening. Just saying. So if you want access to my Tesla price targets, which are produced by my valuation model, join Patreon. All supporters at all levels get access to my Tesla stock price targets out over the next decade. But if you want to run through the numbers, the actual assumptions, every value in my valuation model, the thing that produces the price targets, you'll need to be a supporter on Patreon at the investor level or above. So I'll see you over on Patreon. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel, and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.